Welcome to the Vine Resources Podcast Show. Welcome to another edition of the Vine Resources Podcast Show. I'm delighted to have David Wyatt with me today. David is the VP and GM for Europe, Middle East and Africa for Databricks. David, thanks for joining me on the line.
Good to be here. Thank you for the invite.
You're more than welcome. David, you've got a very interesting organisation you're with. Why don't you give our listeners a little bit of an insight into who Databricks are and what you do?
Okay, thank you for sure. So, look, Databricks is about really accelerating time to innovation and doing that through analytics, predictive analytics and artificial intelligence. And fundamentally what we're allowing the masses to do, whether they're small companies, medium companies and large companies, wherever they're based and whatever their industry, we're allowing them to be data-driven in getting data insights to be as capable as the Facebooks, the Amazons and the Netflix of the world without having all of that infrastructure and capability necessarily built into their environments. So effectively, Databricks is a managed service which accelerates time to innovation through building intelligence, leveraging all that intelligence and delivering it as a managed service platform, which most companies don't have in place today. And that's all driven on the foundation of Spark, which is fundamentally a capability that drives machine learning, data warehousing, and ingesting data to be able to make it useful for data scientists, data engineers, and people who actually want to use data at the end of the line, whether they're in marketing, sales, business operations, etc. like that.
Fantastic. And Databricks is obviously a global organisation. Where are predominantly your customers based?
So Databricks is actually headquartered out of San Francisco, Silicon Valley. We're just north of 4 years old. Our trajectory of growth is super fast. You can truly say we are a hyper-growth company. We're not public at the moment, so I won't go into the statistics and data of that, but our customers are truly global. We're over 700 customers today. I don't know if you've heard recently, we've actually just got onto the first-party service with Microsoft, which is true credibility to our platform. And we're doing what's called a public gated preview right now. And we've had mass adoption to that. We've got north of 250 customers joining that preview. And that's going to be extended even faster as we go to GA later in the year with Microsoft as well.
Well, that's
going to be in 2018 to start when we GA with those guys.
Fantastic. And well, that's an amazing achievement, and such an amazing achievement in a short amount of time for a growing business. What, David, could you share with our listeners what a typical day in the business looks like for you?
So, quite interesting. If you think about our position in the market, we're 4 years old, but the trajectory of growth is just insanely quick. I actually joined the company in late August this year, and 2017. And, in the space of 3 months, we've spent a lot of time building what is here in EMEA today. So I spent most of my time actually hiring and interviewing people. And, the number one thing for our business is that we get the right people mix. We actually have a saying and culture, which is all around teamwork makes the dream work. And the culture in Databricks is very much one of partnership support, and everybody wants to help. Your first day feels like you've been here for 6 months. It's awesome. And I wanted to encourage the same culture of, drive success and autonomy, frankly, in EMEA that we've got out of San Francisco. So I had to hire the right mix of people, so I've invested heavily in interviewing there. So I can do 6 interviews in a day, 8 interviews in a day some days. So that's number one. We're just north of, I think, about 15 people hired in EMEA right now. So we've been averaging hiring about 5 people a month for this year. And we're going to continue probably in the same pace next year as well. That's one. Two is obviously engaging customers, and these aren't in priority order, by the way. But if you haven't got the right people, you can't service the customers in the right way. So for me, getting the right people was an absolute priority. Servicing customers, we are addressing, one of the world's biggest problems now, and that is making data useful. Many companies have got reams of data on Hadoop clusters in various environments using various different storage capacities, and they struggle to make it useful. And what we do is allow them to make that useful, and we allow them to make it useful extremely quickly. So we've got customers actually flowing to us, and potential customers flowing to us at such velocity that we need to react to that. So we're trying to react to customer demand to make sure that we're enabling them to get a path to success so they can realise their outcomes, get better data insights, get better performance, and maximise the use of their data, and at the same time reduce the cost of that process for them. Secondly is, we've got existing customers who, we want to tell them how to get better at what they do and help them and guide them and advise them and support them to get success in the way that new customers do. So we are proactively engaging with those customers to show them a roadmap, a life cycle of how Databricks can really help them accelerate their organizations to the next level. For instance, Shell, I don't know if you were at Spark Summit, but if you would have attended that, those guys have made massive wins in accelerating their time to with predictive maintenance, where they have huge inventory backlogs, which is very expensive to put parts. When you're looking at downstream in oil and gas, you put parts in certain places at great expense, and people to service and those maintenance changes is very expensive. We accelerated the time to market hugely for Shell, so much so that they are accurately allowed to predictively take a lens on what's coming down track from a maintenance capacity standpoint, so they can put the right resources, the right products and capabilities in the right place at the right time, saving them millions and millions of dollars and saving them a ton of time in terms of speed to correction, if you like, and speed to make sure they're maintaining the right products. And we're doing the same thing for health companies. There's a huge one in the US, whereby they're allowed to. They've been able to identify 100 times as many citizens with a certain type of illness through predictive analytics and the performance level of which Databricks is allowed to provide, being able to process huge volumes of data and make sure that through machine learning they've been able to identify challenges for the citizen. And that's huge, right? 100 times identified and diagnosed instances where customers are poorly is huge. That's saving lives. So that's all in a day.
That's amazing.
That's quite a varied day.
And thanks for that. And there's obviously a lot of exciting things going on in the organisation. Can you name as well a tremendous, a person perhaps who's had tremendous impact on you as a leader? Perhaps it's even someone who's been a mentor to you.
I'm probably going to give you one who doesn't even know he's a mentor. So I'll give you two. So one is Ali Ghodsi. Our CEO is candidly one of the main reasons I joined this company. The vision, the strategy. From building out Spark with the other co-founders of Spark, to taking a platform and leading this company to something that's accelerating like this today is absolutely outstanding. And the market opportunity and the way that we're running into that market opportunity is huge. And that excites me, and I see him as a mentor, although I'm not with him on a day-to-day basis. I like to learn from those around me in a big way, and I don't think a mentor always has to know they're a mentor. In fact, I think the mentors never know they're a mentor at all. There's another one actually, which is a chap called Lou Alder. Lou Alder wrote a book called, I don't know if you know it, it's called Hire With Your Head. Hiring is so important to me that I believe it's intrinsic to what you build as an organisation, and the outcome and success of your organisation is fundamentally based upon the DNA that you put within it, how you enable them, and how you reciprocate to make sure that they're satisfied in their careers. And, how much you put in, the old saying, what you put in and what you get out can come in equal measure. So if you put the best in, you get the best out. And Lou Alder's all about a performance-based hiring process to build great teams. And almost, we use it within our DNA and our culture, and even in our interview process, specifically I do, it's quite depth to make sure that we are getting the best and brightest talent that I believe is on the planet. And, I think we're getting the 1% of the 1% here. If you think about our dream as a company, we believe that 1% of companies that I mentioned earlier, the Netflix, the Facebooks, the Amazons, are those guys that are monopolizing and getting uber success globally because they're so data driven and have capabilities of being able to do things with data that other companies can't. But we're breaking that rule by enabling the companies, like Shell, like I mentioned earlier, and many more that are, whether it's Capital One, Shell, JP Morgan, are allowed to use Databricks capabilities, whether it's our Spark intelligence and knowledge and services, through to our managed service platform, which is really the fundamental driver for change and enabler for change. Mm-hmm. We're looking at our people like that, right, as well. So we want the 1% of the 1% who can enable our platform and our company to be the very best. So Lou Alder has really given me a lot of insight over the years, and I've used it in prior companies such as MuleSoft and PK, where it's a methodology I've applied and a capability I've applied to hire the very best, and I truly believe it gives you a real framework to do so.
David, you touched on it a little bit earlier around the interview process and hiring people. So employee engagement is critical to the success of any business. What are you doing from the top to keep your employees engaged?
Firstly, we're fixing or addressing probably one of the biggest challenges in IT. I mean, I've been in IT for nearly 20 years, and I think I'd like to know what's hot and what's not, and where customers are asking for help and where they see challenges. And right now, everybody's got data. The data exposed to big data is by no means a new saying at all. But the problem's still getting bigger. And I think what the world did is they worked out how to store the data, and then we worked out how to visualize the data using all these beautiful BI tools. And there's many. I won't mention all the products, but and we partner with. We can work with any of them. But these visualization tools allow you to see beautiful visuals. But fundamentally, if you can't get access to that data, if you can't do the right degree of analytics and process that data, if you can't fundamentally make that data useful for your organization, any third-party visuals on that data is going to be pretty useless. So the world's now realised, and every company in the world has realised, that they need to be able to make use of that data. And then fundamentally what's happened is Spark has become that pretty much standard open source framework that the world is adopting to use, because there's nothing that's faster than Spark to do it. And there's nothing more intelligent and fast as Spark to do that. And then the fact we built Databricks on that platform makes Databricks the most probably exciting platform on the planet to support that opportunity. So everybody who's an employee at Databricks walks into the biggest problem in the world in IT and actually is fixing it, which is absolutely awesome and exciting. They're also probably on the fastest journey of growth trajectory in a software company on the planet right now. The growth trajectory is super huge, so they get to learn new things very fast. We fail fast in this company, and we encourage radical candor, so everybody speaks openly and partners with each other. We drive a culture of success and partnership, and we like to win, we like to achieve, and people, we like to break barriers. We don't mind. We're in a very luxurious position right now where the gravity is blowing towards us. One thing we do with that gravity is making sure that we're picking our battles in the right way to focus the best success for our customers, for our products, and for our employees. And then, an underneath of all that great stuff from a top-down level, facing the world's biggest problem and fixing it, there's other things like, basic things like perks. You get fed every day when you come to Databricks. We pay for it. You get gym supplement every month. You get pretty good benefits. Everybody, Ali calls everybody an owner. Everybody's an owner, not an employee, and I love that because basically everybody's got some equity in the company, but it's more than that. Everybody actually shares ownership because they believe in it. They believe we're fundamentally doing something different than everybody else on the planet. This isn't a job at Databricks, and if you're not skipping to work, frankly, it's probably not the right place for you. It's people who want to make a difference.
That's great to hear, and I can hear your passion in it, David. So it's lovely to hear that as well. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing leaders today?
For me, I think I'm all about people, and you'll find a lot of my answers are about people. And it's very easy to say that. I'm very blasé to say that to some, but it's the truth. I fundamentally believe that the DNA characteristics of people that you employ and bring into your organisation and let them do what they do well is fundamentally the hardest thing to get right. And that's because, and if you invest in it and spend time on it, you can get it right. You've got to look at everybody like a leader. When you say what's the biggest problem for leaders, I look at everybody as a leader in my organisation and in the Databricks organisation. Whether you're an SDR, an account executive, a solutions consultant, solutions architect, whether you're in support, everybody leads when they're showing someone how to do something, they're showing them how to get successful, making that repeatable and letting others learn with them. And also, you're in at the foxhole. I think that's if everybody around you realises that you're in the boat with them, then they're happy to jump in the boat with you. And fundamentally, they repeat that and do that themselves. And they take to others and share their learnings. That's leading. So, one is getting the people who you believe are true leaders around you. So you're not the only leader in the room. Because the only leader in the room is not a very good leader, frankly, because everybody should be leading. And secondly was getting those other leaders to truly lead and make themselves true leaders who can create repeatable processes and make great things happen and break barriers to entry and just break the laws of gravity, frankly. So that's the number one for me.
Fantastic. And how do you within Databricks particularly, but how do you get a new employee to understand the culture of your company?
That's a good question. So I've not got personally, and I don't think. I'm pretty sure that Ali doesn't really. We don't have like a culture deck or culture slide deck saying our culture will roll like this. However, we do a lot for culture. So, for me, the number one thing is in the hiring because we're hiring for a certain type of DNA and characteristic and set of capabilities of truly groundbreaking people who are the kind of 1%, the 1%.
Yeah.
But then we've got to continue that. So. One is, people have got career aspirations, so you've got to listen to them. You've got to listen to people. You've got to listen to point of view in their day-to-day basis. Everybody's got a skill, but somebody else hasn't. And you've got to really harness those skills. Also, people want to learn new skills, so people want feedback. And I believe that feedback is not best once a month or once a quarter, but in line. I don't know if you've ever looked at the Challenger cell, but inline coaching is by far the best because it's real, live and in the moment. And what you'll find about most people is they're generally experiential learners, which means they learn in the moment. They learn by seeing and doing things. I'm certainly one of those. So recognizing that, if you do your coaching in line, people really value that. What people want to be is successful. People want to come to work and know that what they're doing well, when they do it well, is recognised. And I'm not talking about bonuses and paychecks, which is all important. I'm talking about seeing success with their customers, seeing success with their partners, seeing success with their hiring. Everything they do comes into a support outcome. So we, ensure that we enable, we coach, we proactively support our people and listen to them. The other part of that is we hold several as a company, and Ali is very driven around this, around equality, around women in leadership. We do things that support every characteristic to make sure that everybody's addressed and supported as part of an organisation that we truly believe is going to be the primary go-to for big data analytics and artificial intelligence on the planet. And fundamentally, we want to make it a great place to work, not just a great company to see in the paper.
How do you see, David, the industry changing in the future, particularly your industry, of course, and how do you think this will affect your ability to attract and hire the best talent?
I actually think it's going to grow. This is big data and particularly analytics and AI is a space that's probably the most exciting. It's the most exciting space in IT right now, for sure. It's growing like crazy. Depends which data set you look at, but generally it's going through the roof, and more companies are coming out every minute. So it's going to get a lot more competitive, which is great. We want the competition because it gives what we do more credibility every day, right? And as long as we're at the forefront of innovation, and the fact that we've got the founders of Spark who still contribute 75% of the code line, driving that innovation, we're very confident that we can still keep ahead of the curve and driving that innovation to be a category-defining company. But it'll get more competitive. I think, as more companies see more success. If you look at the driverless car, you only have to sit in a Tesla, or Uber are doing trials now of driverless taxis. The world is fundamentally changing. Amazon are talking about automated and using drones for delivery. All of these capabilities, whether it's predictive cognitive analytics for trading algorithms, through to downstream oil and gas, through to healthcare, life sciences, through to genomics. All of these things are where you've got realms of data trying to make decisions, trying to make the right decisions, trying to make them faster. So it's not like the world's going to stop wanting that. Frankly, it's going to want it more. So we're going to see more competition. We're going to see more innovation. We're going to see more pace. And it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
I was going to say, exciting times there, and you're absolutely right. So many different things going on, and such an opportunity for organisations to grow their businesses. What David? If it's just the last question now, but if you had your time again, and you were giving your 20-year-old self advice, what one thing would you say to yourself?
I probably would have read Lou Alder's book 20 years ago, because I didn't even know it existed. I'm not even sure it existed 20 years ago. I would have done that because I would have known what people are looking for when they were hiring me. And if they weren't, I probably wouldn't have joined, because actually that is quite interesting. I think when you're 20 years old and you go to an interview, you're actually looking for a job. As you get older, you stop looking for a job, actually. You see where you fit in life and build your career around it. And, whether that's in the same company or between a couple of companies, you choose your career trajectory, which way you're going to go. But I think fundamentally, it's down to, when you're planning your career and looking at your life, you kind of got to look at it. It's you own that, not the company you're going to be working for. And I truly believe that with the people in the organisation, everybody's an individual, and I think they've got to be respected like one. And but it's also up to them to plan what their future looks like, and then ask for direction, capabilities, and education and support to get there. And I think, looking back, early on in my career, I probably just wanted to be a sales guy. And then I had a realisation later in my life that I actually didn't want to just be a sales guy. I actually wanted to be somebody who's fundamentally changing the way that high-growth startup businesses are going, in which direction they're going. And it took me a stint in, even IBM for a short while, and Oracle to realise that. And if I realised that earlier, I probably would have been doing it earlier. But saying that, no regrets, because, I learned a lot at IBM. I learned a lot at Oracle. But there's nothing like working for a startup that's got high pace, high trajectory growth, there's just nothing that competes. For a human being to excel, it's the Databricks is the place to be, and you can see more of that at databricks.com/careers if you're interested.
Well, Dave, and thanks for getting that plug in at the end there. Well, I was going to say, and that's great. And Dave, I was going to just follow up on that. What's the best way for people to connect with you, with Databricks? How can they reach out to you?
Okay, so there's a couple of things. There is the website I mentioned a moment ago, so www.databricks.com/careers, and then the alternative is there's Antonio.gomez@databricks.com. Antonio runs our recruitment operations in EMEA. He's been working for me for many years. He's actually helped me build my prior business. He's probably one of the best recruiters I've ever worked with, and he's been a very strong partner for me to help me build what we've built so far, and he will continue to do so. So databricks.com/careers or Antonio.Gomez, that's Gomez @databricks.com. Both viable avenues to connect. Also connect to me on LinkedIn. That's fine too. I'm happy to connect.
Thank you very much, David. I'm sure there are some people that are interested in the organisation but not quite ready for the move. So we'll add your link in there. David, thank you so much for sharing that. We love your passion as well, and look forward to speaking to you and hearing more about Databricks and the business in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, and thanks for your time.